The time is now 1 p.m. and a quorum of the board is present. State Board of Education meeting is recalled to order. Marilyn, are there individuals who wish to address the board during today's meeting?
There are. I have 4 forms here, and I will read the rules just so I make sure I cover them all. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes to address the board, which you may monitor on this timer. If you have handouts, please pass them to the person closest to you at the table. It is the practice of the board not to respond to comments during the public participation portion of the meeting. However, you may be contacted after the board meeting. Public participation guidelines state that forms must be submitted prior to the beginning of the portion of the meeting devoted to public comment. Do I have all the forms for public participation from people who want to speak? Thank you. We will maintain an atmosphere of respect for all people, and disrespecting anyone by name will be gavelled down and asked to cease. We will be strictly following the time limits so that everyone has the opportunity to speak. And with that, I will tell you who's coming to the table and who's going to be next. So Dr. Deborah Hunter Harville is the first speaker, and the second one is Mr. Joel Marvel.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, when you say coming to the table, did you mean?
Will you sit right there so the microphone can pick
It's
you
been a
up?
while. Thank you very much. I am school board member from Detroit Public Schools, Community School District, and it's good to see all of you. Congratulations to Dr. Rice.
Thank you.
Only wanted to stop by because both Tiffany Tilley and also Michelle, and I can't enunciate. Yeah, they've invited us on several times, but Tiffany has continuously called, and I said, because our school board meeting will not take place tonight, I was coming up here. We meet on every second Tuesday as well. So thank you for letting me just share for a minute. Thank you for your support for the partnership schools. The collaboration that we have with Detroit Public Schools and MDE is awesome. Thank you for welcoming our superintendent, Dr. Nikolai Vitti. He is our expert and guru, and he's all of that, and chips and everything else. And I hope one day that he'll be able to come up here and share with you. You know what that looks like because you have Mike. Mike and I worked together years ago when I was superintendent in the one and only Buena Vista School District. And so he gave support, I give support to him. I'm also excited about Ms. Pizzo. I see you over there, our teacher of the year, and we just acknowledged her in Detroit. She is great, and to visit her school, Davison, is like the ultimate. I heard you mention something about the third grade reading law, and I want to just let you know that Dr. Vitti has had us working with that for all of the time almost that he's been there. But I think one of the most exciting parts of what we've been doing is that we use an assessment test that helps us to prepare our students. So our teachers get a chance to look at it, and then they decide on which ways we can improve education, and then they go forth with it. And there's a lot of collaboration with that. It's way more that we do, but I simply wanted to stop by to say that I'm here to support all of you. Thank you over the years for supporting Detroit, staying with us, and the sooner we can get Dr. Vitti up here, the better, because we feel very lucky to have him. So thank you again. And I didn't even take 5 minutes, right?
No, ma'am.
I'll do it another time. Thank you
Thank
very
you so much.
Good luck, Mike.
Our next speaker is Mr. Joel Marwell, and he will be followed by Heidi Kate.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me. My speech is on diversity. Okay, the Michigan Department of Education needs a diversity committee. I would like to see diversity committees in every school district in this state. I have given diversity books too, and I'm talking about this one right here, Happy Birthday. This is for the elementary schools, and it talks about diversity. I have given diversity books to Farmington Public Schools. This ended quarreling among the religions. I have given diversity books to the Birmingham Public Schools, the Bloomfield Hills Public Schools, and also the Wayne West End Public Schools. I give out these books when I see racial or religious problems, okay? The reason why I do this is because Congress shall make no law in regards to religion. With backing from the Michigan Department of Education, I can start diversity committees in every school district. Besides starting diversity committees, diversity laws, that is, the Civil Rights Act of June 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, my position as a teacher in the homestead problem in Petoskey and the voting rights in Macomb County are needed. I brought materials that teach diversity, and I showed you this one. This one is Happy Birthday. This is for the elementary grades. Okay, this is for these are K-12 materials. This is for the high school kids. It's a 2-hour movie, A Storm in Summer. Peter Falk plays me. Aaron Meeks plays the kids. This is in honor of what I did in August 1964. I am the one that brought the races of people together on the Atlantic City, New Jersey beach. The first Sunday in August 1964, 55 years ago. The Michigan Department of Education needs a diversity committee, and I want to thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Heidi Kate, followed by Cheryl Kruger.
Well, thank you very much for having me today. I really appreciate it. My name is Heidi Kate, and I'm superintendent of two what I think of as specialty charter schools in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area. I am here as a twofold. Number one, just to tell you a little bit about our two charter schools so that you get a sense of the breadth of the scope of what charter schools are doing in Michigan through my eyes, and that's two small charter schools. But also just to first begin by saying I really thank the state of Michigan. I thank the Michigan Department of Education for continued conversations. I think that it is a very important work that we're doing. Obviously, we are building lives, little lives, into the adults of our future in Michigan, and I just sit here thanking you for all of your work and that time you spend doing that. But I also want to say that I'm particularly appreciative of the two starter charter grants that we had. Just to give you the brief history, in 2008, our Strict Discipline Academy, which I'm superintendent of, Lighthouse Academy, was established in the Grand Rapids area. We had operated fully by private funding through the Gates Grant and Steelcase and Grand Rapids Community Foundation grants to service expelled students who, due to mandatory expulsion laws, could not go to other schools during their expulsion period. We swiftly found out that the 15 kids that we were able to fund through our private funding needed to be probably 10 times, if not more, that amount annually for kids who needed services who were expelled just in Kent County. At that point, we were able to get authorized by Ferris State University and received a charter planning grant. We were able to service in 2008, after just that small little one-room schoolhouse for high school students in 2005, to expand to about 80 students in 2008. So that meant 80 of those 200 expelled students did have a place to go, and they were able to successfully be settled down academically and behaviorally and reinstate into their school districts. I am happy to report today, in 2019, we have 8 different school buildings in Kent County and the Costa Osceola, servicing the kids that otherwise would fall through the cracks. And in my mind, my passion is to disrupt the school-to-prison pipeline, and I'm happy to report that we are doing that. We currently service about 1,400 students a year. Those are unduplicated through residential detention facilities and community buildings where the kids discharge and then reinstate or reunite, I should say, with their families while we still service them in the school. We have awesome relationships with our public school districts in Kent County. We continue to work collaboratively to have a continuum of educational care so no kids are falling through the cracks. The Charter Startup Grant for 2010 helped us to service the younger siblings of Lighthouse Academy students in the Open Hope Academy of West Michigan. Those students had families, again, where some of the students were beginning to struggle academically and behaviorally, but through a general charter, again, through Ferris State University and the Startup Grant, we've been able to grow that preschool through 12, one school building, academic program, so that we are servicing currently 98% poverty in the inner city of Grand Rapids and have accepted 83% of EL learners. So it really has become very much a specialty school servicing that high-end language acquisition and wraparound supports needed in that community. So I would like to say again that your support for the Startup Grant really helped us to get started to service now hundreds of kids who have graduated rather than drop out or feed our prison pipeline, which is what we want to avoid. And I just thank you for that support and wish you the best as you continue your work in all of the schools in Michigan this year. Thank you very much.
Our final speaker is Cheryl Kruger.
Should I pass out handouts to the two,
To what?
to the people on the upper room?
You can do whatever you would like to do. And I'll be ready whenever you are.
Okay, I'm ready. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm here to talk about educational rights violations at Michigan School for the Deaf, where our son attends, and I'm hoping that to make you aware of some things that are going on there that may have been falling through the cracks, and hoping that we can work collaboratively to correct some of these issues and make the experience more positive for the kids in the future. So communication has been entirely absent this year. Assigned classrooms, teachers, and even building changes have not even been provided to parents. I became aware of sweeping adverse changes when I brought my child to school on the first day. Michigan School for the Deaf, or MSD, does not have an elected board of education to approve policies that affect our vulnerable kids who literally do not have a voice. And so some questions come to mind. Why have kids who are deaf plus been denied admission to MSD, and teachers with a preference and passion for teaching deaf plus students been reassigned to teach deaf only students? These prejudicial practices have resulted in the resignation of all of the superbly qualified teachers who were reassigned to teach deaf only students, which has not benefited anyone. Why are students who are deaf plus isolated off-site from typically developing individuals who are deaf and their qualified teachers with a deaf education endorsement? Who is responsible for implementing these discriminatory policies, and what is the justification? So students now who are 18 and older and deaf plus, so deaf with additional disabilities, have been segregated away from typically developing deaf students and qualified teachers. The typically developing deaf students are housed in the recently constructed Michigan School for the Deaf that has specially designed classrooms to meet these students' special needs. Instead, the over 18 deaf plus students are now isolated across campus in an old dormitory building of the historically closed Michigan School for the Blind. They're now calling it the Learning Resource Center, or LRC. Consequently, it is necessary for these deaf plus students who have, many of them, unstable health conditions and wear expensive auditory equipment that must remain dry, to walk or be pushed in wheelchairs outside across campus multiple times per day, including during adverse weather conditions such as what we've had today, heat, rain, snow, sleet, hail, etc., to receive medications or treatments from the nurse, eat in the cafeteria, etc. There are no certified teachers, gym, art, or access to interactions with deaf students without additional disabilities in this old, secluded building. In fact, MSD has hired parapros who, under Michigan law, are only required to hold a high school diploma. to teach these Deaf Plus students. Some of the parapros do not meet substitute teaching approval standards, yet they are assigned teaching responsibilities. These programmatic changes were made without prior or subsequent written notice or parental consent. It appears that the students who are Deaf Plus have been deemed less important than students with only deafness because there is a pattern and practice to disregard IEPs for the Deaf Plus students. Historically, speech and language therapy, or SLP, services have been intermittently provided, despite the fact that they should be continuously provided. And this year, the school does not have a single SLP. An orientation and mobility specialist and vision services and accommodations have not been provided for several years, including the present year. A former principal refused to add a deafblind label for our child when it was implemented by Michigan, stating that our child had too many labels and it was not necessary. But lack of a deafblind label reduces services that our child is entitled to and is likely the reason she resisted. Transition services have not been implemented for our child at all due to the closure of the transitions programs by the Tri-County Community Mental Health, CMH, a plan that was kept secret from the public since 2014. This impending closure precluded our child from starting or receiving transition services because CMH knew these programs would be closed by the time our child was 26, so did not even permit us to visit. The teacher our son was assigned to at MSD last year claimed that the Deaf Plus students in her class were incapable of learning and stated that she did not write and could not implement our child's IEP. Although multiple teachers had written and successfully implemented this and similar IEPs over many years, she refused to teach the students and somehow has become the interim principal. I have more, but thank you for your attention.
And thank you for the written statement as well. Thank you. Any others? No other individuals for public comment. The next item on the Committee of the Whole agenda is presentation on Model 24/7 Tobacco-Free Schools Policy Revision. The 2005 State Board of Education 24/7 Tobacco-Free Schools Policy has been updated to expand the types of tobacco products, including vapor products and electronic smoking devices. This model policy is timely. Last week, Governor Whitmer directed the Department of Health and Human Services to issue emergency rules banning the sale of flavored e-cigarettes and made Michigan the first state to take such action. Following a period of public comment, the board will be asked to approve the model policy before you at its November 12, 2019 meeting. Today, board, our presenters are Mr. Kyle Garant, Deputy Superintendent of Finance and Operations, and Dr. Diane Kolzinski, Director of Health and Nutrition Services. Gentle people, it is your floor.
Thank you, Dr. Rice. This is a timely item, as you mentioned, with the expansion of tobacco products like hookah and e-cigarettes, specifically vaping, that have helped drive up tobacco use, not only in Michigan students, but nationally. Based on our 2017 Youth Risk Behavior Survey data, 14.8% of our high school students had tried vaping in the previous year, which outpaces the national average, which is 13.2% for that year. It's a 2-year cycle for the survey, so we'll have updated data later this fall, because it was administered in the spring of 19, and we expect, like other states, to see that number go up. Michigan students, high school students on a whole, have used tobacco products at a higher rate than their peers nationally, both smokeless and traditional forms of tobacco. So in response to those increases, school districts are obviously asking for both policy and programmatic help to help address what they see in their school buildings every day. As Dr. Rice mentioned, the governor's actions last week with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, but also instructed the Department of Transportation to enforce existing statute to ban the use of billboards for advertising for vaping materials. So, many of you may have seen some of the reports lately on how some of the long illnesses that have broken out over use of vaping products, and unfortunately there have been deaths related to that illness as well. So we're here to bring just a little history about the policy to you, and then talk about our plans to move forward. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Kolzinski to walk through the presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's great to be back. Thank you so much for having us. So, as Mr. Grant said, we are here to present to you an updated version of the model policy for schools for those who wish to adopt the model policy. As you just heard, our numbers are at an alarming level where we are seeing take up of these nicotine products raising instead of decreasing. And this is a great cause of concern for our children. So as you just heard, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey for Michigan demonstrates a 14.8% use for high school students in the last 30 days. National Youth Tobacco Survey also demonstrates that those numbers are rising at alarming rates. So we would like, as the Department of Education, to thank our partners at the Department of Health and Human Services. We have two of those partners with us today. We have Elaine Lyon and Ruben Juarez, who are here, who've helped us with the initial policy as well as with this update. So the original policy was adopted in 2005. What it misses the mark on in 2019 is it doesn't have these newer tobacco products that were available at that time, and those non-tobacco products that also contain nicotine, the e-cigarettes and the vaping materials. So as a part of our priority for addressing the needs of the whole child, we would like to update the policy to include an expanded list of all of the variety of tobacco products that are out there that we are seeing children using, as well as those non-tobacco products that contain nicotine. Updating the language and the terminology. So in 2005, we called the work coordinated school health, and in 2019, we call that the whole child, whole community, whole school, whole community, whole child framework. So what we have also been working on is updating our model comprehensive school health curriculum, the Michigan Model for Health, to include the e-cigarettes and hookah information. K-6 and high school are next on the list. We've only updated middle school at this time. Our plan is to put this out for public comment as we do traditionally, analyze that public comment, and then you might just get to see me again in November to look at the final policy for approval. What questions do you have?
Ms. Vector.
Just wondering if a child is caught with this stuff, what is the response, or what is the recommended response?
From the 24/7 policy? It's important to remember that that is going to be a local decision. If the local district adopts the 24/7 model policy, or if they have their own. The response at the local level is not outlined in the model policy. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mhm.
You'll find any model code.
That's it.
That's usually where that's addressed, yeah.
Model policy. That piece of us.
Thank you.
Other questions by board members, from board members? Ms. Tilley?
I don't have a question, but I'm the director of the Southfield Community Anti-Drug Coalition. And so we're doing a lot in Southfield with drug prevention, and this is definitely an issue that we're tackling. We actually did 45 sign-our visits to retailers this past spring in Southfield and Farmington Hills. And then we did a camp with the Boys and Girls Club, who's one of our partners, and we partner with Southfield Public Schools. But we did a camp with, teaching drug prevention, education, and the kids really ate up the information. They really did really good. But just want to say, if there's anything that I could do to help with this, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tilley. Other board members? Other thoughts? Going once? Twice? Ms. Lahi, other thoughts? You got us into lunch very succinctly.
I don't think I can top
Last
that.
board meeting, it was words matter. This board meeting, it was food matters. Any other thoughts? We appreciate the presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next item on the committee of the whole agenda is an update from the Office of Partnership Districts. The Office of Partnership Districts will provide an update on Bridgeport Spalding Community School District's 24-month review of goal attainment structured conference. This is a monthly update, at least it has been in the past, and board action is not required. Here to present to us today, Dr. Bill Pearson, the Director of Office of Partnership Districts, and Ms. Gloria Chapman, Assistant Director of the Office of Partnership Districts. Gentle people, welcome.
Well, thank you. We don't know how to get to the next.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks. Thanks. So we had a 24-month review at Bridgeport Spalding. We had a 24-month review at Bridgeport Spalding a couple of weeks ago. If you remember, two districts in the first round were off track. One of them was Bridgeport Spalding, so we've had that 24-month review, and we're here to share the results regarding that review with you. So we reviewed the process benchmarks, and they were successful in 8 out of 9. Most of those were from the 18-month review, and so we didn't spend a whole lot of time on that. And then we reviewed the local outcome benchmarks, and they were successful in 5 out of 11. And they were local outcome. They did not involve the M step. So when you have local outcome benchmarks, you have to attain 2/3 or 66.6% success rate, and then 2/3 of your process. They did not meet the local outcome benchmarks, so they were considered off track at this point also, at the 24-month. So then we came up with some recommendations during our collaborative conversation with the ISD, NDE, and Bridgeport Spalding, and you have those in front of you. Specifically, the blueprint through MIXL, we are working diligently to make sure that we get to the next level. That's the organizational framework that they are using to get things in place. We are working with community partners. I know they helped them get a center in their high school and in their middle school, so they could have some arts, not the regular art, but some arts where their students could make videos and do some other things. So they have some partners that have donated thousands of dollars helping them out there. They're working on their curriculum alignment. They have ELA curriculum in place now. They have math curriculum in place now. They had staff development prior to school on math. And I was at the board meeting last night where the superintendent presented to the board that they were off track after 24 months. And when I spoke, I mentioned that to the board and the superintendent, they needed to hire an instructional leader. They're in the process. I believe by October 1st, they will be hiring somebody to help the superintendent organize their scope and sequence, their pacing guides, They need to get that in place. Also, I work with MASB and the board president and the superintendent, and they are beginning their strategic planning process starting this month. They hope to have that strategic plan in place by January. Then they'll be able to put together a 3-year plan that will help them determine where they need to go, what direction they need, the community and the staff and the board together, working together, will determine what needs to be done, and they can successfully put together the dollars that are needed for that strategic plan. And they don't have that in place yet. Their enrollment is up, so they do have some extra dollars in that respect. So that's a good note. And then last night, they also, the board approved a 3-year teacher contract. So I think that is very positive. And it's structured around the amount of dollars they get from the state, the number of students that they have on count day. So there's some good benchmarks in there where they can, hopefully the staff will get some more money regarding those benchmarks. So they have some good things going. The superintendent's starting his 2nd year, so that stability that I've talked to you before about is very, very important. The principals are the same principals as last year, so there isn't change there, which I think is very helpful also. I went to the buildings. I visited, there's 3 buildings. I visited the K1 building prior to the board meeting, and I visited the 2 through 8 buildings, so it's a unique setup. And then the high school where we had our meeting, and I talked to staff. I was encouraged by they had a late start. I forgot to mention that because they had a lot of construction that they were working on, roofs, other things. So they started a few days late, and there were some comments at the board meeting from staff that indicated that they were very happy that everybody pitched in, worked together. So they seemed to be starting out the school year, even though it was a couple of days late. They were starting out on a positive attitude. So I say those things because they're 2 years into their agreement, so they have 1 more year to be assessed at the end for the evaluation of the partnership agreement. And as I gave you the notebook last year, they need to attain 130 points out of 200. Their goals, 36-month goals on the outcome aspect, are different than the benchmark. There's some NWA goals, but there's also some MSTEP goals. If they would have chosen MSTEP goals as their benchmarks, they would have had a better outcome at the 24-month review. But they went with all NWA. For the goals in the 36 months, they have a combination of NWA and MSTEP. So I'm hopeful that we'll be able to meet the 130 points as a district and that they will be able to be released. So here on the next slide, according to our comprehensive guide, because they're off track for 24 months, they had to present, the superintendent presented to the board, presented, the benchmarks met and not met. Like I said, I was there last night. Then they have to have multiple community meetings, informing the community at different meetings that they are off track, what the next level of accountability might be, and where they might be heading. So the first one is probably going to be a Title I meeting that they have in October. I think it's going to be October 1st. I don't have the date because I'm not sure when that is. And then just to review, I kind of said it, the top right-hand corner, if you use local outcomes, you have to have 2/3 percentage to be successful in process and local outcome. They weren't, so they're off track. And promising practices, strategic plan I mentioned, shared understanding by leadership team of systemic infrastructure via MIXL blueprint. That team is working diligently with them. Our liaison, Lisa Francisco, attends all those meetings, and she was at the board meeting last night also. Staff engaged in curriculum work. They're on year 2 with the same curriculum. That's another positive step. And professional learning on restorative practices. They have a person that works on restorative practices kids in the district. So those are some of the promising practices. So that's an update on Bridgeport Spalding. And we will have our 18-month review on our 24-month review on Saginaw, October 7th. And so we'll get an update on that. I know Judy had asked for some information. We received all that. 84% frame reduced and about 17.4% on special needs students. So the frame reduce has gone up the last few years. So it is some school choice is active in that area.
Any questions of Dr. Pearson or Ms. Chapman?
Sure.
Mr. McMillan.
So the ones that they were off track was not metrics that were agreed to with MD, or MD didn't impose them.
No, they weren't imposed. They were benchmarks that the district came up with, and we had to approve them in 2017.
Great. Okay, so they bought into those benchmarks, so they're in agreement. There's
Yes.
no controversy like this isn't fair or anything like that.
No,
Did they want to change them a little bit or tweak the benchmarks at all?
I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. When we came out with the comprehensive guide last spring, I believe I mentioned it, we said to each district, because you now know how you'll be evaluated at the end of 3 years, if you want to amend your 36-month goals, you can, if our office approves what your amendments are. And so they have added a couple of end-step goals to their 36-month goals. So they have made some amendments. And what they're looking for is a 2 to 5% increase in math and ELA at the elementary 3rd through 5th. So we're hopeful that they'll be able to get that. They're shooting for 5, but the range is 2 to 5%. So
Growth and proficiency. And which growth and which proficiency?
proficiency. Now, I say proficiency, I'd have to check that. I believe it's proficiency. We got 29 districts. I'm trying to think of left brain here. I think it's proficiency. Okay.
And then what happens if they're off track at 36 months?
If they're off track at 36 months, they have to go to the next level of accountability. If, when the budget comes through, 22P isn't eliminated by the legislature. So we're assuming that 22P is going to be there. We have worked with some members of the legislature because there was some thought process. I think I mentioned that about 22B, there was a punishment. A part of 22B, you would lose money if you didn't meet certain goals, and that doesn't make sense to punish monetarily districts that have high poverty rates. So hopefully the 22P would be in there. I'm looking for reconstitution as opposed to closure. So, and I haven't really, Dr. Rice is the new chief here, and so at the, once we get the budget in place, we know where we stand in 22P. We know if we're getting $7 million for 21A, we're hopeful for that too. All the districts have submitted their requests, so we're on track. We're just waiting for the legislature. Then we need to determine what it is we're going to do if they say closure is a part of 22P with reconstitution. So I think reconstitution is better. So what they have in their next level of accountability is closure and reconstitution, because I think districts and the partnership agreements were led in that direction 2 years ago. I wasn't here, but that's what I believe. I think we understand that closure might not be the best avenue to take. I think reconstitution is. So, hopefully they will attain what they need to do. Because if you include state M-STEP scores, you only have to have a third, not 2/3. It's local 2/3 if you use MWA. The other aspect with Bridgeport Spalding is they were priority schools. They had priority schools that were on the list. That's why they became a partnership district. But then when the index came out scores, they didn't have any CSI scores. So they're kind of in a dilemma. So when they heard that Lansing was released because they closed their CSI school, so I had a conversation with the superintendent and the board president. Well, we want to be released. I said, your systems aren't in place. You got to have your systems in place that I feel confident that things are moving in the right direction. You're working on it, but you're not there. And two, you're not. They only have 3 schools. They're not going to close any of those schools. So they're in a little dilemma if they don't have any CSI scores. We need to talk about that when it comes to the 3 years. If you don't get the 130 points, but out of 200 be released, but you don't have any CSI scores, we got to figure that out.
Other questions from the board? Thoughts, comments?
When you say reconstitute, what exactly is that?
Change teachers from the building and remove a couple, put a couple in. That has been done before. Remove the principal. That's part of reconstitution. Reconstitution really means a whole lot of different things. You could bring in a different curriculum and say this curriculum we know works with this, work with this district or these types of kids. So you have different choices. Usually it means removing people and replacing, which is difficult.
I'm also curious about the mobility of the students. You say that there's and if there's teacher vacancies, for retention of teachers, is that an issue in?
Yeah, they have 6 teacher vacancies, general teachers. I think they have 1 administrator they're looking for. I think it's an assistant, but they had 6. I think that was passed on. I think I'm right at the 6. So that is an issue. It's a big issue for our state. I'm requesting all the partnership districts to provide us with the information on how many certified teachers you support. It has an effect when it comes to scores increasing. I never deny that. I think it makes a difference. There's nothing more important than the people in front of the class. Kids. So it's tough for partnership.
Right.
It really is tough. Yeah.
Other questions or thoughts? Going once and twice. And thank you, gentle folks. Approval of State Board of Education minutes. May I please have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular and committee of the whole meeting of August 13, 2019? Ms. Fecto, a motion. Dr. Pritchett, a second. Any discussion?
One update. In there it said under NASB that Cassandra Aldridge said she serves on the Government Affairs Committee. I think that's supposed to be served. I think that the point was they wanted someone who to served in that role before, and I'm willing to do it again unless someone else wants.
So with the friendly amendment of the possible change in letter from S to D on the verb to serve, any other friendly amendments to the meeting minutes? Going once, twice. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Report of our president, Dr. Aldridge.
Very briefly, I was in a presentation this week with Dean Moji from the University of Michigan College of Education, and she presented on the Detroit P20 partnership that they have with between the University of Michigan, Marygrove College, the Conservancy, Starfish, and Detroit Public School Community District on the Marygrove program that they're doing. And it sounded like a really interesting opportunity, and so I just brought some extra materials to share with you. They're starting this year with 9th grade, and they're going to add a preschool, I believe, next year, and start adding the older grades on until they have a full K-12 school. But the whole idea behind this program is it's pre-K-12 all the way through P20, essentially. And it includes a teacher prep program that's modeled after residency programs in like teaching hospitals. So it's a great opportunity for folks that are getting into the education system. And so I just wanted to bring some of these materials back and share them with you guys if you are interested in taking a look. And that's essentially it for my report.
Good. Thank you very much. Any questions of our president? Good. Board, in my 41 days in my new role, yes, I am counting. I've had the opportunity to speak to each of you regarding a wide range of issues. I've also had the opportunity to connect with individuals and groups around the state and within the department. I appreciated being in the Lansing School District 2 weeks ago, and in Flint Community Schools last week. I was at 3 schools in each of the districts. In Lansing School District, I was at Eastern High School, the new Eastern High School. I was also at Gardner International Studies School. I was at Riddle Elementary School. It was a little bit like Old Home Week for me, all in one day, going back to Lansing School District. In Flint, I was at Freeman Elementary School, Flint Southwestern, and Doyle Ryder Elementary School. Next week, Sheila, Alice, and I will be in Traverse City. We'll be speaking with our urban superintendents in Middle Cities. We'll be speaking with our ISD superintendents in MAISA. We'll be speaking with the broader superintendent delegation in MASA. It's my pleasure to announce today that the board and department will be working with external stakeholders to review and update our top 10 in 10 strategic plan over the next several months. Top 10 in 10 strategic plan has served us well in its first 3.5 years. We appreciate its guidance. At the same time, many of us are familiar with strategic plans that are annually reviewed. It's time for a review of ours, not by any means to discard the terrific work that's embedded within it, but rather to update, to streamline, to clarify, and to add metrics to that work, because it's important if we aspire to top 10 in 10 to have an understanding, a common understanding, not simply within the board, not simply within the department, but more broadly in the state as a whole about what we want to be top 10 in 10 in. So we launched that effort today. I anticipate that over the next several months of discussions, not simply at this board table, but within the department and within the state as a whole, we'll get good and important feedback on that work, and that ultimately the board will alight on an updated top 10 in 10 strategic plan sometime in the spring. Any thoughts thereon, board members?
Only that I support that, and that having clear measures and having a discussion about what they should be at the board table is important to me.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Other thoughts from board members? President Albrecht?
Thoughts on this or on any part of your?
On any part of the microscopic report.
All right. One, I agree. I think it's time for us to kind of reevaluate the top 10 and take a look at it and see what makes sense. I don't think it was ever fully understood what we were top 10 with the other and what we were comparing ourselves to, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So I think it makes sense to look at that. I had a question outside of that.
Sure.
There is a grant under your report for the Marshall Plan.
Mm-hmm.
Have these funds been appropriated? I seem to recall, I know this never went through policy, it was always through appropriations, and I wasn't sure if the full $100 million was appropriated and now you guys have it, or is this reliant on whether or not this goes through the appropriations process this year?
Who's comfortable responding to that?
The money that was appropriated was information that you notes that some amount that was appropriated, originally appropriated, and all that number changed. This time around, was all the hours are appropriated. Yeah, we'll get you more information.
Okay, I was just curious. I just seem to remember that there was. So I wasn't sure.
It's gone through its cycle at this point. Yeah. Very good. Other questions by board members? Yes.
Yeah, as we talked last week, I guess it was, that I commend you. I think that the easy way to do things would be to not talk about metrics, kind of keep it out there. And metrics, they tend to be a little bit more black and white, and not as much we're getting there, kind of heading there. It's so I commend you on even opening that up and wanting to go in that direction. I guess we'd have to be careful what's selected, because what you measure, you end up, and then if you have potential unintended consequences to that. But nonetheless, I found it.
Thank you very much. And just a note, board, that these are not, I don't view these as state board metrics. I don't view these as State Department metrics. I view these as metrics for what we're trying to accomplish collectively within the state for children. They're about what we want to do for children in the state. And they are bigger than we can accomplish within this room. The intent is not necessarily to be fully able to control our own destiny with these metrics. The point is to lead with these metrics and to encourage others to work on and focus on these metrics. To Mr. McMillan's point, the choice of metrics will be extremely important. And we could certainly go down some unfortunate rabbit holes in our work. We have to be extremely selective in the use of metrics, but the absence of metrics has its own perils, doesn't it? That it's hard to set off on a journey, particularly a journey to hire. If we aspire to hire, it's important to have some sort of a roadmap associated therewith. It's important to know when we're getting closer. It's important to know when we've arrived. What do we want to be top 10 in 10 in as a state? That's important. And I'm not suggesting a single metric, rather I'm suggesting several. And I'm not going to lay out a number of them today. I just think that there's some value to looking at metrics throughout a child's life, early, and then straight up through and after high school graduation. What are we trying to accomplish as a state? Not simply with little ones in terms of inputs, but as we get deeper into their schooling and post-schooling in terms of outputs and outcomes. The metrics that we choose ought to be a mix of all three: inputs, outputs, outcomes. Ultimately, children can't feed, clothe, and shelter themselves based on our inputs into their lives. We hope that those inputs generate good outputs and subsequently good outcomes in their lives. So I'm not suggesting that we should have metrics that we fully control. I'm saying, in fact, quite the contrary, as I think Mr. McMillan knows. I'm talking about something beyond what we fully control, and I think that's to his point, that there's some peril in that. But it's ultimately where the children are, and we ought to be about that. Dr. Pritchard? Nope? Okay. All right. Ms. Snyder? Ms. Tilley? Nope? Okay. Ms. Ramos-Montini, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
You certainly are. Do you have any thoughts for us?
No, I'm in agreement.
Okay, all right, very, very good. Anybody else for the good of the group? Okay,
I think we're going in the right direction.
thank you, Ms. Tilly, I appreciate that. Thank you. Anything more for the good of the group? Once, twice, thrice, and onward. Ms. Kara Lougheed, our Michigan Teacher of the Year, English Language Arts and History teacher at Stony Creek High School and Rochester Community Schools. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you serving with us this year.
And Michelle Pizzo is with me today. I'm sure you all remember from last year, a Regional Teacher of the Year will come each month to hang out with me, right? And figure all this out together.
Welcome.
That was
Should be like a
new.
whole-
You don't have to do that, but it's nice.
She has to hang out with me. That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
It's part of the deal. Oh, I can just do it this way then. It's not that long. Over here. I'll just do this. Okay, so I'm Kara Lougheed, and I teach in Rochester at Stony Creek High School. I'll back up just a little bit. We didn't get a chance to really introduce ourselves last month because we had such a full agenda. So just a little bit about me. I went to Western, go Broncos, and yes, and they have actually invited me back for homecoming, so that's very exciting. And then I got my Master of Arts from Nova Southeastern, which was just an online school, and now apparently it's quite a campus, and maybe I'll visit there too. It's in Florida. I've been in Rochester my whole career. Those are our kiddos up there in the stands with their giant banners. I started at Rochester High, and then when Stony Creek opened, I moved over there with my husband, who still teaches with me at Stony Creek. We actually have 6 married couples at my building, something in the water, I guess. I started out in teacher leadership pretty much from almost year 1 with MEA. I had some really good mentors in my building, and they asked me to be a building rep, the kind that just sits quietly and listens, because I was very young. And so then from there, I worked with MEA, and then went on to work with NEA as well. I'm a national delegate. A few years ago, I started partnering with Oakland University and the High Leverage Practices through Teaching Works and the Michigan Program Network. And that led to what I'm sure you are aware of is the core teaching practices for aspiring educators. So all of our student teachers now, thanks to this work, will be learning the same thing at all of our state universities, and I have been a part of that. It's been a real passion for me, as you can see. So mentoring and bringing more people into the profession is a passion of mine, and I think that the high leverage practices are one way of doing that. There are some other ideas that I have as well, but that's what I've been working on mostly. I'm also very interested in equitable practices, not just for students, but also for our staff. Diversifying the workforce, keeping people in the profession is also really important to me. And I think, again, mentoring, good, strong mentoring is a way to do that. So those are the things that I'm most passionate about, and I have already been working on. I was just at OU on Friday presenting for their fall conference. And that's what I'm going to continue to work on. So if there's anything you want me to go and do, someplace you want me to see, I'm willing to do that. And now, Michelle.
It's such an honor to be here in such distinguished company. Thank you for having me. I'm Michelle Pizzo. I'm from Detroit Public Schools Community District. It's been an honor and a privilege to be in this district this is year 24 at Davison Elementary Middle School. And I will never leave. I love it there. Wonderful board, and especially thank you to the new superintendent, who is like a blessing, an angel that's been sent to us. I received my bachelor's degree from Wayne State University. We used to be the Tartars. We're the Wayne State Warriors now. Received my master's in the art of teaching in 2003 at Mary Grove College. Again, here's my teaching experience. Proud advocate and teacher for the students and parents. And I think that's a very important piece in the city of Detroit for the past 25 years. And they have all been spent at Davison Elementary Middle School. Proud of that. My beliefs and passions, along with Kara's, I just really have this strong belief that we need to create stronger bonds with community and families and parents. So I've made it my mission, along with the Family and Community Engagement Office, to kind of create bonds. And I'm a very involved in the parent-teacher home visit program, which this is our 3rd year with the program. And the idea here is to seek and build strong and positive relationships between the family, the school, and the community. I believe strongly in building and modeling empathy to strengthen the school community. And I am also an advocate for student equity in DPS CD. Again, this is something that I feel very strongly about, sort of like the missing piece. And once we started implementing that missing piece and bonding with parents and making those connections and building those relationships with families, lots of great things have happened. So I'm hoping to spread the word, and I'm hoping to get a common thing, not just within the city of Detroit, but especially in the city of Detroit, where it's very important that we create those relationships. Questions, any comments? Again, along with Kara, I'm so thrilled to be here. And anything that you may need from me, information, please call upon it.
Ms. Fecto?
Yeah, and sorry I didn't recognize you right at first when I saw you in the room. So I'm curious how the home visits work. Who you partner with? Do you partner with DHS, or do you partner with? I mean, because I assume if you're going, do you target like kids that are absent, or do you just kind of do each one, and what services do you bring when you meet with them?
Not to target, lower achievers or those with behavioral problems. This is just simply, and it's not a parent-teacher conference. This is exactly what it's called. It's just a visit. So we partner up with other teachers, and we just go for a visit. We do 2 visits a year. One is done at the beginning of the year, and then one follow-up in the spring. And we go into the home and we talk. What are your hopes and dreams for your child? What are your child's hopes and dreams? What do you expect from me as your child's teacher? And we talk about some of those real things that may not, normally be talked about in a classroom. We ask the parents, we ask the family, what can we do for you? Are there any services? And then for the follow-up visit, we will bring information. So, there's that connection there. What do you need from me, and what can I do for you? There's some information that I'll bring right off the bat. Did you know that there are scholarships for 7th grade students? I happen to teach 7th graders, so I do know that information. But yeah, there are things out there. There are opportunities out there. There are things that our parents don't know, and we bring those to your table, literally. And then again, when we do that follow-up, we hope that, we have answered your questions. We hope that the information brought you has been helpful. And we also see if there's anything else that we can do for you, sending your child off into the next school year. So it's been wonderful. It's been really positive, and it really is. And I love it. Any other questions, please, about the program? I'd love to give you a formal presentation on it so you can see firsthand and some of the feedback that we get from parents and from teachers, if you would allow that one day. But
Other board members? Looking forward to working with Teachers of the Year on teacher recruitment, retention. The teacher shortage is real. It is a substantial concern among educators across the state. It affects a lot of different corners of the state. It is certainly not in every district, in every position. That is not the point. But it is substantially, it is substantial enough to be of concern from the UP to the Indiana border, from one lake, one Great Lake to the other. And we've got to address it. And we are the cavalry for all intents and purposes at this point. Now, at some point, some other entity may come over the hill and help us out, but for the time being, we in the education community are our own cavalry on this issue. So I'm looking forward to working with you on that issue. And if you have a moment after this meeting, I'd like to talk with you.
Real quickly, I just wanted to let you all know too that because of the full agenda, the first, so Rachel Gustafson was here in August and she stayed for the meeting, but we didn't get to her slides or anything. I just wanted to let you know that she is in Rapid River Public Schools up in the UP. And some of her interests, I'm just going to put these up here. I like to let you know, especially when someone can't be here, in case there's something up there that you would like to reach out to one of these people. She works life skills for high need students. She's a special educator, mental health and behavior education. And she does collaborate with mental health professionals in the area. So I just wanted to let you know that those were her passions, and she wasn't able to present that last month. So just to let you know a little bit about her too. And that's Rachel Gustafson from the UP, Region 1, right? Region 1.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Anything more for our Regional Teacher of the Year, our State Teacher of the Year? Thank you very much, Ms. Pizzo, Ms. Lahid. Next item on today's agenda is the approval of the State Board of Education meeting schedule for 2020.
Support.
Mr. McMillan moved, President Ulbrich supported. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on today's agenda is state and federal legislative update. Ms. Ramos Montini is the chairperson of the board's legislative committee. Ms. Ramos Montini, would you like to do the report, or would you like to defer that to Mr. Ackley?
Well, what we do is I start the presentation and then I pass on to Mr. Eckley for the final report.
Very
So
good.
if we can continue in that manner, I would appreciate it.
That sounds great.
Oh, okay, thank you. So the committee, the Legislative Planning Committee met on Tuesday, September the 3rd at 2 p.m. And the reason why we had to change was because the legislature had not met and we really didn't have any information we needed to discuss. At that meeting, present were co-chair Judy Pritchett and the Honorable Nikki Snyder, Lupe Ramos Montini, and the MDE liaisons, Marty and Caroline were on that call. It was a conference call, and like I said, we didn't have very much to discuss except what was pending was the budget report, an update on and what was happening with the budget. And so since then, a little more has occurred, so I'm going to pass the baton to Marty, and he will introduce the line items that we discussed at that meeting.
Thank you, Lupe. As we discussed in the committee at that time, there was still an impasse between the governor and the legislature as to where the budget was going to go. And I'm sure most of you know that yesterday it was announced that there was an agreement to take the road funding issue off the budget table, so that the legislature and the governor are now working on coming to an agreement on the budget. There is a conference committee scheduled for Thursday to take up the school aid budget. The other conference committees, like for the department's budget, has not yet been posted yet, but we know that the quadrant, which includes the governor and the the Democrat and Republican leaders in both the House and Senate are meeting to try to hammer out targets, budget targets, and agreements on what to put in the budget. So there is some variance as to what the governor proposed in the school aid budget and what the House and the Senate proposed. So those things will have to be discussed and agreed upon before the conference committee meets and reports out a bill, and it goes to the full bodies of the Senate and the House, and then eventually goes to the governor for her consideration, signature, and/or vetoes. So that's what it is. And as you know, at the August meeting, the board approved a statement opposing any effort to bond against Michigan's public school retirement system. That statement has been was forwarded to the state legislature and the governor's office, so they are aware of the state board's position on that proposal. And that's basically where we stand right now in the state budget. And a question was asked earlier about the work keys bill, about taking that out of the Michigan merit exam. It was correct that that bill was passed by the House, sent over to the Senate. In the Senate, it was referred to the Government Operations Committee, and typically that doesn't give much hope. I mean, if they really wanted to move it in the Senate, they would move it to the Education Committee. They did not. They moved it to the Government Ops Committee. So it's like, well, it's always option. I mean, it's always possible.
Sometimes it means that the Senate Majority Leader might use it as a tool
Maybe.
negotiating, so then he can
Right.
get it out of that
Right.
committee easier than an education.
It can always be
committee.
discharged, right, sure.
Any questions of Ms. Ramos Montini or Mr. Ackley? Yes.
Remind me of the work keys. Are they making it an optional, or is it, the bill, does it make it optional, or does it make it just outlaw it?
Optional.
So if
A
it was
district-
optional, the state would still pay for it, or the district would be on the hook for it?
That's uncertain.
Okay, because I know that a lot of the trades,
Right.
you know, people going into the skilled trades.
It's more
they
popular
use
in one
that.
side of the state than the other.
Right. I also, you know, so I've been reading about the bill around getting rid of Algebra 2 or having it be, could you give me your feeling on
I'll
what's
defer
happening
to
with
Caroline
that?
on.
Caroline, you got that? Finally, yeah. Yeah, so the budget's, and I know at the federal level, they've always heard people talking about the reauthorization of the special ed laws at the federal level. Is there any,
IDEA?
yeah, I'm assuming IDEA, but they talk about reauthorizing or revisiting it, and that someday it'll happen. Do you know Judy, do you know anything about it? Okay.
Dr.
No,
Kenishnek,
I guess
do you
it's
know?
just, it's not,
Senate Bill 496?
No, no, I'm talking about a federal reauthorization of the IDEA. Is there any action on that?
I was back on Michelle's bill.
No.
No, I have not been aware.
okay, all right.
We can get you more information on
Oh.
where that sits.
Sounds like nowhere,
All right.
yeah.
Other questions, Dr. Pritchett?
Thank you. I know there's some boilerplate language, I call it boilerplate language, that sits in school aid that will be under consideration. It's not just about the money part when they're talking about
Correct.
education.
Yeah, there's a lot of policy built into boilerplate.
There is, not necessarily Michigan merit curriculum, because that's a brand-new bill sitting out there.
Sure.
So that wouldn't be
Right.
considered, but there's other language that's been in there over the years, or new language that may have been inserted. Is there a way we can get a copy of that, just so we can be
A copy of-
aware of that language right now that they would be considering starting on Thursday? As far as what would be in that
Yes, we can get
package?
you, we can give the fiscal agency's analysis that compares Senate passed versions, House passed version, and the
The
governor's
executives.
recommendation. Yes,
Okay.
we can get you that.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Okay, to
Pres-
conclude the presentation, I just want to encourage the board members to continue sending us any issues that they would like us to research. I appreciate all the help and all the assistance and all the input that you have given to the committee so we can do the best job that we can. And the next committee meeting will be on September the 24th. It's on a Tuesday at 1 p.m.
Okay, thank you very much. President Albrecht, you had another question or comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say one thing to add. I'm sure that this is going absolutely nowhere, but there is a piece of legislation that's been introduced regarding lame duck and requiring a 2/3 vote from both houses for passage of bills during this session, during the lame duck session. And I would be strongly in favor and supportive of that. And I would hope that the legislative committee would maybe take a look at that and perhaps come up with a statement in support.
Certainly will look at that. Absolutely.
All right, thank you very much. Anything else? Very good, thank you. Comments by State Board of Education members? Are there any board members who, I'm sorry? NASB report, I beg your pardon. NASB report. Getting frisky. Could almost smell the finish line.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, we're having the annual conference. NASB is having the annual conference October 16th through 19th.
Okay.
Wanted to know who all is attending. Is anyone attending from the board?
No.
No.
Joining.
Yeah, I am planning to attend.
Okay. And then Nikki said that she may attend. And as you know, I'm running for the Central Area Director position. I put my name in the hat. Would you, Lupe, would you be willing to be the person on record to vote for me?
Okay. So what we need is a person to represent the state of Michigan at the voting table. You would be that person, but if you're running, then somebody else has to. Now, what I'm looking at is my schedule as to how long I'm going to be able to stay. But if I am there the day of the elections, I will be more than happy to do that. If I am not going to be there and Nikki might attend, then we can recommend her. So what I am recommending is that let me look at my schedule, because we're going to have a very important event here in the city with a presidential candidate, and I'm in charge of that visit. And so I have to check, and it's on a Sunday, and this conference ends on a Saturday. So I'm checking some things, and I had to change my whole plan. So I will get back, but I will be more than happy to be the representative if I can be.
Awesome, thank you.
I'm just wondering why you couldn't do it. If there's a vote of the board that the board supports you, why that would prevent you from doing that vote?
It's not, but you do have to formally put in a person's name and an alternate. If you have an alternate. So I was gonna say,
okay,
Nikki, if she goes, can you be the alternate? And then if not, I can always vote for myself. I do anyway. Have no problem
doing that.
So it sounds like we have a tentative plan that we're going to firm up in the next couple of weeks. All right, very good.
By the end of this week, by maybe tomorrow, I will finalize my plans.
Very good. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Comments by State Board of Education members. Ms. Fecto, any comments?
Yeah, how'd you know?
Just a good guess.
I just wanted to say I went to the Michigan School for the Deaf again, second time, and it was a meeting with Terry Chapman and the staff. teachers, staff of the school. And it was a real, you know, there's issues that have been going on there. There's some turnover in the leadership. There's a misunderstanding, I think, for many that it is not a regular traditional school with a school board. It is something that's in the Constitution, that it has to be at that location, and the people who work there are civil servants. They're not like school employees of a school district. So the rules are very different. And Terry, I think, did a really great job of explaining all of this. The staff seemed to be very receptive, and you know, there were some hard questions, but I think she handled it, you know, really honestly and with grace and with empathy. She also made it clear that one of the things that their strategic plan had called for, they had a strategic plan over a year ago, but then the principal left and they weren't able to implement it, which is part of the concerns of the community that worked so hard on these plans, was to make ASL the official language of the school. So if you go and visit the school, one of the things that the strategic plan and the policy that's being implemented is, even if you can hear and you're speaking to another hearing person, they ask that you have somebody there to sign what you're both saying, so that the people in the school, you know, there's a sense that everybody can understand. You're not talking behind anyone's back. It's all very open and transparent what's going on. And that was enthusiastically supported and appreciated, that the department through Terry is doing this. And she's I just wanted to commend her. And I know Scott had been out there at the other meeting that I went to, but we might want to have them on the agenda to get a better understanding of some of the things that they're struggling with. But the department is working really hard and trying to take it very seriously. And one of the things they really need, though, is to have deaf teachers who have content expertise, and that's really hard to get because there's no teacher prep program like that in the state, although there is a program through MDE where people can, they work with folks to do it for free if they wanted to become one of those teachers. But I think looking at, you know, we talk about these grow your own, if we could grow the students that go to these schools to maybe become teachers, to come back to the school, there's really a demand for that, and I think that would be really well, it would be really appreciated by the community there. So that's my report on Flint.
Thank you very much.
School for the Deaf.
Thank you. Ms. Snyder, Ms. Tilley, Dr. Pritchett, Mr. McMillan, President Albrecht, second bite of the apple. Ms. Lougheed, second bite of the apple. Ms. Snyder, you're an honorary. Okay. Lupe Ramos Montini, at a distance, but not forgotten.
Yes. No, yeah, good. Let me just say that I'm feeling better at the end of this day. But one of the things that was brought to my brain, when I think it was, what's the name of our new Teacher of the Year?
Ms. Lougheed, Kara Lougheed.
Here.
Ms. Lougheed, I think she's the person that said that she graduated from Central.
Western.
And that now they call themselves Warriors.
No, that was Michelle.
That was Ms. Pizzo, who was talking about Wayne State. Ms. Lougheed is a proud graduate of Western Michigan University.
Bronco.
All right. Okay. Well, somebody talked about the mascot being the Warriors.
Yeah.
And that person was talking about families and children and all of that. It hit a chord because we have had parents and community people and people from the Native American communities talk about changing mascots. And this is one of the mascots that they have brought to the table. And so my thinking is, how can we work together to possibly change that mascot now that she's a regional.
Wayne State.
Anyway, it connected the two. It connected warriors, the American Indians, Native Americans, families, and children. And so I had to say something.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much. Any other comments by any other state board members? Future meetings of the board, Tuesday, October 8th at Saginaw ISD, Tuesday, November 12th, and Tuesday, December 10th here, fourth floor of the Hannah Building. Any topics that any board member would like included on future meeting agendas? Not, you can let us know later. During the upcoming week, we'll be working to finalize the October agenda. Looking around, pulsing, seeing no additional interests, but a couple of raised eyebrows. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
I still have to go to the office, so this works.
This is rare.
It's very rare.
Karen, Michelle, I am. Thank you very much. I definitely.
That's awesome. Oh, stop.
You know the whole Oakland County executive thing.
I have heard a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Not that this is going to be the new normal. I'm under no illusions about
This can happen.
What's that?
This can happen, being done early.
There's a value to tighter. You can, if we're able to do, if we're able to get our work done, we can't cut people off.
So I didn't listen.
Now you're voting. Well, no, they do have an interim. We're not voting.
I thought I was like maybe
one's coming to speak, and so I think both might speak.
Okay. Yes.
She seemed like it.
She was great. I mean, I have a great one now. I just haven't gotten.
All right.
That's good.
And you know,
It's still early, but definitely want to be in the middle.
Be interesting. When does that happen? In May?
I used to say on such and such a day you'll get.
I don't know if it's
Well, I
gonna be
even
May.
thought I knew the
think
other
it's
day,
gonna be
and I said, well, you should have got it on this day, and if
the
not,
primary
2 weeks
August.
later, and Pam said, no, I
You're
didn't,
right.
and it was actually the following 2 weeks after that. I don't even know. The road code processes them right away. I don't even know how smart it is.
I'm not worried about that.
Do you want it electronically, or is this?
No, I can do this. I have a hotel receipt.
Oh,
If I email the hotel receipt to you, can you print it off
Yep.
and add it to this, and I'll just do this right now?
Yep.
Okay.
I have to say that it's definitely I know how to get a
Okay, good. Maybe I'll see you, I think, next week or whatever.
And Tom, I really like your idea about making it be as, the whole thing is,
I graduated from American Business, so that's my favorite too.
you know what I mean? To show the,
Yeah.